Yes, I'm going to go up to Gator Mountain and find a couple of
Well, I think what we know is we have a lot of support from across the political spectrum. We have endorsements from Democrats and independents who really believe in my vision for the future of the country. And I think this is a race in communities that I'm very familiar with, having represented a large portion of it in the state legislature. So we're working hard every day to make sure that we get our message out about the important issues of getting our fiscal house in order and getting our economy moving again. And I talk about specific policies that we need to implement in order to get people back to work, in order to responsibly get our budgets under control. And I think there's a very clear contrast to the lack of specificity and vagueness that Ms. Frankel offered on the issues of importance.
All that we have going on, presidential, economy, are you concerned that it's difficult to change the fundamentals of the race?
Well, I think things are just heating up. I think people are starting to tune in and starting to pay more attention, not just to the presidential race, but to other races down the ballot. We've been working hard for months. We've been on television. We've been communicating with voters. We've been doing it the old-fashioned way, knocking on doors and talking to people in their homes and at their offices. And I think as people get to learn more about me and hear more about Lois Frankel's record and her ideas, I believe taking our country in the wrong direction. I think more people are beginning to support our campaign, and we're seeing it across the political spectrum. I've been endorsed by all of the pro-business, pro-job groups. That's the most important issue in this election, but I've been endorsed by a lot of people who may not agree with me on every issue.
What's the question, or what's the response that you wish you had more time for that you'd like to?
Well, I think in a very limited
during the debate.
Well, I would have liked to have heard more about Ms. Frankel's time as mayor. I know she claims that she's always on people's side, but the reality is when she was mayor, she had a 40% pay increase. She sued the citizens of West Palm Beach. She put a $13,000 marble shower in her bathroom, and she took helicopter rides, police helicopter rides at taxpayer expense. And as she was flying over those West Palm Beach residents stuck in traffic, she looked down and said, I should do this more often. That's not the type of leadership in Washington that we need. We need leaders who are going to live by the same set of rules as everybody else. I think I demonstrated that here today, and it's part of our campaign, and I think it's a big difference that I have with Ms. Frankel personally, and it's also a big difference that we have on policy. I think there are polls that have the race all over the place. I think if we've learned anything about the polls from the presidential race is that they're erratic and they're going to go up and down. We have a great message. We have the resources to deliver our message, and no one's working harder than our team the last 20 days in order to win on November 6th.
I was going to ask you specifically about that poll that was released today by the DCCC that shows Lois up 10. Do you believe that's an accurate poll?
Again, the polls are erratic. We've seen it in the presidential race. There are polls that show me up a little bit. There might be some polls that have it as a tight race, but we're going to continue to stay focused on getting out the message on the real issues and the real differences that Lois Frankel and I have on the important issues of getting our fiscal house in order and getting America's economy moving again. And I think that's what people want to hear. And I think today's debate, they heard from me specific solutions on what to do to responsibly reduce spending and what to do to get people back to work, to get small businesses back hiring again and create jobs. And unfortunately, Ms. Frankel didn't provide any ideas on what we can do to get our fiscal house in order and get America's economy moving again.
Lois Frankel didn't take up your pledge to, a pay raise. So, how do you feel about that?
Well, I think it's just more of the evasiveness, more of the distraction of her campaign, trying to divide people. Right now, I think people are focused on what we need to do to get our economy moving again. People are hurting out there. Too many people are unemployed. Gas prices are far too high. People are struggling to pay their bills. And I think one of the biggest dysfunctions in Washington is the fact that Washington politicians don't live by the same set of rules as everybody else. And I think you saw a clear example today of somebody who has been an elected official for a long time and who thinks they're part of the ruling class and doesn't have to live like everybody else does. And I think it's demonstrated in my commitments to never take a pay raise, to never accept a pension, to not pay Congress if they don't pass a budget. And then I think you saw it during Mayor Frankel's tenure as mayor, the marble showers, the pay increases, the commandeering of police helicopters. I think that proves that she's out of touch with the people that really need a strong voice in Washington, especially when things are so tough for the future.
And what about the digital domain situation, the fact that she...
Well, I think today's debate touched on that a little bit, and the fact that Ms. Frankel received $20,000 in campaign contributions from Mr. Texter. I've never met Mr. Texter. I never asked him for any contributions. I never received any contributions. And I think there's still a lot of questions that are out there that people need answers to about her relationship and what impact that had on city taxpayer money being influenced by the $20,000 that her campaign received. We got one more.
What do you think is the major focus that delineates you from Frankel when it comes to people's pocketbooks? If that's what how people vote.
Well, the economy and getting the economy moving again are the most important things. Those issues, I believe, transcend the biggest concerns for what's on people's mind. I laid out a responsible approach today about what we need to do to reform our tax code and right-size regulations and instill confidence for small businesses to go out and hire and invest. And the only thing I heard Mayor Frankel talk about was increasing taxes. That's not going to get people back to work. That's not going to get small businesses hiring again. And I think those are very clear differences on the issue that I believe matters most to people right now, which is their economic security and the economic security for their children.
Adam, the Frankel campaign just tweeted that you did in fact vote for pension and pay raise. What did you respond to that?
Well, I think, again, what we saw during my 8 years in the state legislature, my salary went up $300 during my 8 years in the state legislature. During her time in the state legislature, her salary doubled by over $15,000. What's more is that I led the only effort in the state legislature to cut my own salary and the salaries of every other member of the State House and State Senate. Didn't make me very popular at the time, but it was the right thing to do to lead by example because everyone was being asked to do more with less, and I thought legislators should as well. Ms. Frankel increased her salary in the State House. She took a 40% increase during her time as mayor. I think it demonstrates that she doesn't have the same commitment that I have to make sure that our representatives live by the same set of rules as everybody else.
So did you at any time vote for an increase in pay while you were in the State House at any time?
Each and every year when the state budget was passed, the current law allowed for a small cost of living increase, but that was the current law, so we weren't voting for a pay raise. What we did do in 2008 when everything changed was vote to cut our own salaries. It was the first time ever in the history of the Florida legislature that we cut our own pay. And I think it was because we recognized, and I recognized, that we needed to lead by example when we were asking others to do more with less, that we needed to do the very same thing. Ms. Frankel took a 40% pay increase as mayor. She increased her salary during her time in the legislature, 50%, over $15,000. My pay increased over 8 years, $300.
But the ones that were built in, did you have to vote each year to actually enact them?
No, we didn't have to vote each year to enact them because it was part of the annual, it was part of the current law was that cost adjustment. What we did was cut our own pay in 2008. It was the first time it was ever done in the state legislature, and I think it's the type of leadership by example that I'm going to demonstrate in Washington.
Hi, Glenn and Lois.
Yeah, good to see you again. Yep, good to see you again.
Two things. I wanted to get a sense of the district during the profile of this race. This was sort of a reconfigured district that was
Just stop.
sort of a disadvantage. Talk a little bit about how you overcome that in a place of a fairly conservative policy, how do you overcome this polarization in this district?
But we don't just look at how many people are registered in one party or another. The fact is both parties have gotten us into the fiscal mess that we're in. And our message is one that transcends partisan lines. I've been talking every day to folks about the real issues that impact them and their businesses and their families. And it's why we've received support from so many Democrats from throughout the West Palm Beach to Fort Lauderdale community. We have a whole leadership team of Democrats for Adam, of people who are former elected officials, even a candidate for the State House who ran against me 10 years ago. And they all say pretty much the same thing. I may not agree with Adam Hasner on every issue, but on the things we do agree on getting America's fiscal house in order, on getting our economy moving again, Adam Hasner stands head and shoulders above Lois Frankel on the important economic issues that are critical to their security and to their children's security.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear about that bipartisan support because, well, at least what I heard today, your tax policy, your social policy is very conservative.
Well, I think what I've been doing is talking about real solutions to the problems that we face. We have $1 trillion a year deficits. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, Republican, or independent. People know from their own personal lives that you can't live beyond your means. So our message of fiscal responsibility, of getting revenues more aligned with expenses, is something that resonates across party lines. And whether you're Democrat, Republican, or independent, that doesn't make a difference if you're unemployed and you're looking for work. So people are looking for, what do we need to do to grow our economy and create jobs? I know that when my wife and I pay our mortgage bill, we don't put our party affiliation on the bottom of the check. These are issues that impact people regardless of party affiliation, and it's why we're so proud of the support we've received from independents as well as Democrats who are looking for common sense answers to the really important issues that impact them and their families and their businesses.
One last question. Would you vote to repeal Roe v. Wade?
Well, there's never a vote for I'm pro-life, and I do support exceptions for rape and incest and for the life of the mother. And what you saw today from Ms. Frankel was an attempt to distract and divert attention away from the issues that I think a lot of people really care about right now, which is the economy and which is getting our fiscal house in order. And there's no votes in Washington that are intended to do that. So
should people be? I mean, I think that's a real valid.
Well,
for people who might be afraid and looking for candidates that they're not afraid of.
Well, I think people should be looking for candidates that they're not afraid of. And what you saw today was a candidate in Ms. Frankel who all she tried to do was scare people. She tried to scare seniors, saying that I wanted to take away their Medicare, which is just not true. We're going to save and preserve Medicare for anyone 55 and over, for my mom and the millions out there who rely on it. And those are the types of scare tactics that I think people are just sick and tired of, the finger pointing and the blaming on issues that divide us. I'm focused right now on the issues that are bringing people from both political parties and across the political spectrum to support our campaign, which are the policies to do what people have to do at home, responsibly get their budgets balanced, and get people back to work. And I think that's what's going to make a big difference in this election. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Bye. Good to see you.
Good seeing you.